Welcome to the Grit Code Podcast, a place where we decode the steps to success on and off the field. I'm 11-year NFL veteran, three-time Pro Bowler Dante Whitner. My co-host is number 378, NFL Hall of Famer Patrick Willis, and the tallest man in journalism history, Mr. Rod Brooks. Guys, there's a lot to decode on and off the field this week, but we'll start with Jalen Carter. Everybody saw the spit gate on Thursday Night Football, where Jalen Carter spit on the chest of Dak Prescott. Pat, I'll start with you.
So I would say, Dante, just thinking about somebody spitting on me, man, just as you just mentioned it, my skin just crawled, like something underneath my skin crawled, because I remember growing up and my dad telling me, I remember because my dad always say, like, if somebody put their hands on you, then you put your hands back on them. But when somebody spit on me one time, I remember being like, wait a minute, that's different. And I remember I went home and I told my dad, and he said, boy, listen. He said, if anybody ever spit on you again, he said, you whoop,
Tear their ass up.
you whoop ass.
We ain't censored
And
on this
and
motherfucker, Pat. Tear their ass up.
and,
My uncles used to tell me the same thing.
My grandfather
Listen,
told
there
me
was
the
another
exact
thing in
same
there.
thing.
If they ever spit on you or put their feet on you.
Yep.
oh man.
Yeah.
And so just seeing it, that's morally, it was just it was uncharacteristic, like of what you want to see in between the lines. But I'm not sure. I think they did enough. I mean, they find him? I'm not sure what his consequences was. Do you guys know what his consequences were?
So today it came down that Carter was being fined a hefty amount, $50,000, somewhere along those lines. But here's what's getting people kind of twisted, and I get it. Jalen Carter suspended for one game, but because he spit on Dak Prescott basically before the game started, it was right after the opening kickoff. Only 6 seconds had elapsed on the clock. The NFL is considering him being kicked out of that game on Thursday night. They're considering it the one game that he's suspended for. Not that I think there's going to be a rash of spitting incidents, because everybody feels the same way that we do, that spitting is gross, it's personal. And listen, let's keep it real. Not that it's a racial thing, but when you're a black man, and just as, D, your uncles told you, Pat, your pops told you, as my grandfather and my pops told me, the worst thing somebody can do to you is to spit on you. Like it bothers us on a molecular level. And I understand where people are coming from, saying that Jalen Carter, what he did was a despicable act. And to suspend him for one game, okay. But to count the game that he got himself kicked out of as the suspended game doesn't make any sense.
I think it's bullshit. I think that he's a 24-year-old guy from, well, I looked it up. It says he's from the suburbs, but when you look at his Instagram, it looks like he's from the inner city. That's how he behaves.
You know how that works. If
So you know how that works. So
you work harder to put up that harder image.
Absolutely. So I'm looking at it like the NFL and the Philadelphia Eagles let down Jalen Carter and other African-American athletes by not suspending him. And I say this because think about it like this. At some point, he's going to be the highest paid defensive tackle in the National Football League. Just call it what it is.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about all of the success that this young kid has had, 2 national championships at Georgia. You come into the league, you have instant success. Your first year, you win the Super Bowl. There's a lot of egotism. Now, we talk about crossing the line, Pat. We played the game harder than anybody. Pre-game, you want to get in somebody's face. You can say whatever you want, but you don't cross the line and spit on anybody. What makes you think that you can do this, let alone in private, but on fucking national TV? What makes you think you can do that? Okay, if you do that in the city of Philadelphia and you get into it with somebody and you spit on them, they're going to kill you. So I think that the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles, let down Jalen Carter and other African-American athletes by not setting a precedent and suspending him immediately. And I think that the Philadelphia Eagles should have done it. It's all about that performance on the field now. What can you get away with if you bring something of value on the field? We've seen it, Pat, with Aldon Smith. How many chances did they give Aldon Smith when they should have set a precedent? When they should have suspended him? when they should have made him do therapy to really dig into what made you actually do these things, Alden, so that we can protect you from yourself. Because when you build that on-field persona, you have to be careful because one day you're going to have to take the helmet off. How many incidents have we seen with Jalen Carter even before he came into the NFL? In
Man, that they
2021, I mean 2023, he had the racing incident where it almost hurt his draft stock, where somebody ended up deceased because he was drag racing in the street, and he left the scene and then came back. So there were already character issues, and I love the young kid. I have circumstances and things that I did that when I was younger that I wish I could have taken back. But this is a big no-no, and they have to check this right now before it gets out of control.
You know what, Dante? I commend you. You sound. I don't know if it's the old head in us, but you sounding like an unk right now. And I know that where you are coming from. You know, it's from a place of care because we talk about this often. That if you don't rectify, if you don't handle things now, especially when you seeing them, that when you try to catch them later on,
And
that's
the
when they
money only going to
sometimes.
intensify it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
fame and the
So
success is only going to intensify it. This pat on
yeah.
the wrist, you said hefty sum when we started the hefty sum of 57,000 that they're fining him, Rod. That's nothing to this fucking kid.
Yeah,
He
50,000.
just
No, it's
got
50,000. No,
22
come on.
million guaranteed, and he's gonna sign a $200 million deal. You think he cares about that?
Well, he
All
should
right.
care about it.
Let me ask you then. Like let's segue into now. All right. What does this mean for the Philadelphia Eagles? Because this is his contract year, I believe. This is his contract year, and so he's a big part of that defense. And they played pretty good defense, but I'm sure they could have used him big time the other night, and he wasn't there for the reasons that he was not there. So w- looking at looking at it from the organization, what would you all say now? Like, all right, this is contract year. Do we pay him? You know, do we not? Like, do we consider some of these things? Like, what?
Man, they gonna fucking pay him. What do you mean? Do they pay him? They're gonna fucking
So
pay him. I think
so
he just
then,
put himself in a situation where you're gonna have so many stipulations in your contract for character reasons, which means
mm,
that they can come and take money back if you do anything outside of the game of football that's not in alignment with the NFL Shield and the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think that's probably what's going to happen, but they're going to fucking pay him. Have you seen that kid on the field? He's amazing.
But let me ask you this, because I think what we're seeing now goes all the way back to his days at Georgia, where Carter, being a very, very talented player, was able to get away with a lot of things that less talented players wouldn't be able to get away with. He has been, I don't want to say coddled, but his talent has led to people being looking at him in terms of, okay, well, we'll let some things slide because he's that good. Will the Eagles have the stomach to put stuff like that in his contract? I don't think the Eagles would have had the stomach to do what you said they should do, Dante, which was suspend him and make him get therapy. You know, they have a tolerance for his behavior because he is so talented. And he's been skating on that talent tolerance scale since he was at Georgia. And it looks like he's continuing to skate on that. So how do they?
Well, that's the culture of sports.
Right, right. And
If
does
you can ball out,
Players
you can get away with
Association,
some
do they
shit.
allow them to put anything in his contract from a behavioral stipulation standpoint? Will they fight for that to not happen because it's in their best interest to protect their player?
Absolutely. You know, the team is going to fight for what they feel is right, and his agency and representation is going to fight for things that's going to allow him to keep all the money, knowing his character and the things that he might do
Mhm.
in the future. But when we talk about these type of things, the things that aren't being talked about is the preconditioning from the areas that we come from, the stresses that he's probably dealing with off the field, the people that are in your corner that you think are in your corner that are probably yes men. Everybody trying to get close to you and manipulate some shit out of you because they know who you are and you don't know who you are. Which means they know and see that $200 million, right? Following you around. So they want to get close to you. So a lot of those things add to the pressures of why a young kid might do that. And then you have to be careful. And I was watching football all weekend. I watched that Thursday night game, Friday, a little bit of high school. And then Saturday, I watched the game and I saw another young kid that plays defensive tackle in college football spit on another kid.
It was the Florida USF game, right?
Absolutely. And I said to myself,
I missed that. I missed
they
that.
talk
Yeah,
about
man.
it being a copycat league on the field. It's a copycat league off the field. When you have young kids that look up to you, they're going to emulate what you do. It's your on-field persona. They want to be you. So, what do you say to a young kid who's playing football, defensive tackle, little league, early years in his career, and he's watching that game very excited with his parents, and he spit on that kid, and then your parents have to address that with their children, and they ask him like, "Mommy, Daddy, why did he do that?" What do you say to your kids?
You know what? That's a tough one. I don't have kids, but what I will say is, I remember when what my dad would have said to us, and what he did say to us when we was growing up. When we was growing up, my dad was he how he ran his household was how he ran his household, and when we went to other people's houses, you can do whatever you wanted to do, but he always said, underneath my roof, this is how we gonna act. This is how we gonna do what we gonna do. So anytime we left the house, we knew we better not go down the road and get in trouble. Because if you go down the road and you get in trouble, you're gonna get in trouble down there, and then you're gonna get in trouble when you get back to the house. And so, I would say, man, sometimes Dante, it really just starts with how you run it inside your house. Meaning, like, man, if you end up getting influenced by what's going on the outside, I
That's
mean, I'm not
very
saying
hard nowadays,
I
though.
know, but that's the onus. Like that's the onus. I feel like we are forgetting in this world is that sometimes, man, it starts a lot of times it starts inside the home, like and how you are inside there. And some kids just know you better not go out there and mess up, or else it's gonna be worse inside here. But I don't know. Maybe you have something a little bit more political, Rod. That you guys have.
Nah,
You guys have a family
to
like
me,
that.
it's real easy. Okay, he did something that's terrible. You do not do that. You don't put your hands on somebody else, and you don't spit on anybody else. And if I ever catch you doing that, I'm taking you off the field, and you don't get to play. That's it. You don't have to worry about what your teammates are going to say. You don't have to worry about what the other team's going to say. You don't have to worry about what your coaches are going to say. If I ever see you do something disgusting like that, I'm taking you out of the game and I'm taking you off the team. That's it. End of story. Because to me, the failure in all of this, forget about the league, okay? To me, and forget about the Eagles organization, just to sort of that overarching, term. His fellow players, hey man, you can't do that. First off, because it's inhumane. Secondly, we need you, big dog. What you doing? How you getting baited into that stuff? Oh, because Dak's spitting near you? You got to be smarter than that. You're too important to
Yeah.
this football team. Why? What, your behavior was not only disgusting, okay? That's the top thing, but it was also selfish, okay? Because you felt like you had to get back at a guy who baited you into doing that, and we needed your talents on that football field.
And that's
His
how it goes in the streets a lot of times with
right,
African
right.
American males.
Yeah,
We
his
are
coaches need to
so
tell
quick
him,
to
"Hey,
take
man, you let us
everything.
down."
Yeah, we're so quick to take everything as disrespect.
Right, right.
Anytime somebody step on our shoes or spill a drink on us or bump us a little bit, you know that'll get you killed.
Eh,
Not actually taking a chance to pause and then respond and just reacting will get you killed.
I mean, listen. Dak Prescott spits at your feet. All right, there's nothing cool about that.
Yeah, ain't
But
nothing cool about
but
it, but
but
it's like
but
you trying to provoke me. You didn't spit
right,
on me.
yeah.
But listen, I line up directly over
That's what I'm
over
saying.
you in the
That's
game. I
exactly what I'm
could beat
about to
this
say.
man and slam you on your neck. You understand? Terry
So
Bradshaw style. If I want to get you,
Right,
suplex you, put
right.
you on your goddamn neck if I really want to hurt
All
you.
right, maybe
This
that's
little
going a little
stick
bit
on
too
my
far.
chest. Yeah,
But
but we're gonna take it too far. So let's go to the next topic. Those 49ers look really good. That defense looked good. A lot of young defensive backs out there, but two guys that really stood out.
Ooh-wee.
Fred Warner, Pat, it's your position, and D Winters. Young guy coming along. I seen him flashing around. It looked like a little bit like Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman out there. Pat, how difficult is it for first Fred Warner to continue to play at a high level, high energy, and lead this defense, and then for D Winters to step in and replace Dre Greenlaw in his production?
Yeah, well, first of all, shout out to Fred. I mean, I said it before and I say it again. Fred is one of the best in the game, if not the best. And I feel that your middle linebacker have to be the generals. And Fred has been a general for this is eighth season now. And the way he was out there running yesterday, you didn't know if you couldn't tell he was in his eighth season. He was flying around, getting to the ball, and that's what you want to see. And I've said before, if this team is to make a run or to do anything special, it's going to take their veteran leadership to be out there and practice and also on game days leading the way. And to see D Winters step into that role, I'm not going to say he's replaced Dre Greenlaw yet, because that's, consistency is the key. And it's not that we haven't said that um, that D Winters couldn't play before. It was how consistent can he be, and how consistent and how healthy can he stay in the process of being a good football player, because we know that a healthy player is the best player. So an available player is the best player. So it
Well,
was a
Pat,
sight to
take us
see
into
him.
their mindsets, though. Think about it. I remember being in a huddle with Paul Postlesny that came out of Penn State, middle linebacker, when he first came in the league, and they threw him right in the fire to get the call from the sideline, to really line guys up and do all those things and play at a high level. Like, so Fred is getting up there in years, but his
Mhm.
energy level is increasing.
Yes.
What would Patrick Willis be thinking right now as to get himself so juiced up and to lead the team right now with so many young guys around you?
Man, truthfully, Dante, that's a great question. For me, in my eighth year, I was barely holding on, and so it was tough. But what I would say and what I would do is exactly what Fred is doing, just being exactly who he is, and this is his time to really just step forward. Because before, other people were saying, like, is he only being there because he has, his sidekick with him? But I said, this if he's going to make a run for defensive player of the year, I think a season like this right here is really going to be indicative to that, because he doesn't have all those pieces around him like he's had in the past. But if he can continue to play at the level that he's played, and this team can get into the playoffs, I'm gonna say defensive player of the year. I think if he can, yeah, I'm gonna say defensive player of the year if he can keep it up.
Uh,
So
there's a reason that Fred Warner is a captain, and we've seen it over the years, and we saw it in Week 1 in Seattle. I want to ask y'all a couple of things about the defense, and if that is the reason why we saw what we saw from Fred Warner and D Winters in Week 1, and if we'll see that for the rest of the season. What did you guys think of the revamped defensive line and their scheme? And did that have anything to do with Fred and D Winters being able to use their speed and run free and make tackles? And what do you think, guys, think the Robert Saleh difference is? And did we see that in Week 1?
Well, I watched the game. You know I'm gonna watch the game, and I'm gonna go back and watch it from the end zone and the sideline. And what I'm seeing is a difference in philosophy than the first time Robert
Yep.
Saleh was in San Francisco. What they're doing now is they're playing a lot more man coverage, especially get up in your face, show it. Upton Stout, Diamador Lenore. They have the corners now in the youth to get up and challenge people. And even with the young safeties, they're getting up and they're playing tight man coverage. With D Winters, what they're doing is they're doing a lot of blitzing.
Hmm.
They're doing a lot of bringing him off the edge, slow blitzing to the side of the back. They putting Fred on the back a lot of times. They're putting D Winters on man to man on the tight end, and then they'll rob another safety to show down and rob in the middle. So they're playing man coverage. They're playing a lot of quarters, and then even on that first uh, Bosa up the field into the A gap, they're doing a lot of things that we talked about last year. They're just attacking the offensive line
Yep.
and attacking the weaknesses. That's what they're doing. That's why I love it. And then they're playing with energy and they're playing with physicality. That makes up for a lot of mistakes. So I think that as they go on more and more throughout the season, I think that defensive line will get better and better, get more consistent pressure, and teams might be in trouble. If the offense can uphold their end, this defense is going to be top 3 in the league.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. You know what, Dante, I do love what you just said because I do love the energy that they are playing with, that they played with last Sunday. I saw it during training camp, and we say preseason is one thing, and then regular season is another. But they really came out and they shocked me a little bit. I didn't know if they was going. I was excited to see how they was going to stack up. Real time. First game, and they came out and they held their own. And what I love was what you just said, the revamping of the defense. I heard people talk about Robert Saleh, and I saw his energy during training camp. But to see this defense come out, and play the way that they played, again, it's just week one, and consistency is a key. But I like what I saw. So.
very aggressive. A lot of guys at the line of scrimmage. That's fun.
Mhm.
They were being forceful instead of, to my somewhat untrained eye, they were being forceful and aggressive and not being passive and reactive as seemingly they had been over the last couple of years. One thing, the common thought was, because you had young guys that you're trying to integrate on this defense, that it was going to take a little bit of time before this defense really found its stride. I know it's just week one, but was that performance because they were coming out of training camp and coming out of preseason and they had a chance to practice and gel, and we will see some ups and downs here as we get into the meat of the season? Or is the performance we saw in week one, do you guys think it's going to be indicative of what we'll see all year long without the kind of get them into flow process that everybody thinks is going to happen with these young players?
Well, I think as the season goes on, you'll start to see them implement more um, coverages
Mhm.
and different looks than what they're giving now off the looks that they're giving. Usually, when you see teams put a lot of linebackers and defensive backs at the line of scrimmage, they usually drop them out.
Right.
Well, Robert Saleh set a precedent this first week of the season by not dropping them out,
Mhm.
by blitzing. So, Pat, whenever you start the season like that and you got guys at the line of scrimmage blitzing, what are we going to do the following week?
So,
We're going to
yeah,
show
go
the
look
same
at it.
thing.
Yeah,
We're going to
yeah.
drop out and we're going to do something different
Right.
off of that look that you've been preparing for all week. Now we get you guessing and we get you expecting certain looks and you start to get different things. It's when guys start to come free. Defensive linemen start to hit the quarterback. You got safeties and corners blitzing. It can be a pretty Minnesota like defense. That's what it looked
Yeah.
like to me. I think that they
Okay.
blitzed over like 27% of the time. You're forcing the offense's hands. So as the young players get better, they're just going to get better and better on defense.
Okay.
Yeah, and I said this before. If the team is to, do anything, the defense is going to have to be astronomical. And I think, maybe I'm just biased, but I feel like the defense is going to have to play that good, like they did last Sunday, and even better as the season goes on. But I don't know, Dante. We shall see. I think they're going to have some roadblocks in there because again, they don't have a lot of depth, and that's the thing that I wonder about. But again, as long as they stay healthy, and that's the key word, healthy, then yeah, we shall see. I mean, they can. I mean, I think they can keep it up, but we shall see.
Couldn't ask for a better start. I mean,
Yeah.
Seattle, their whole thing was, we're going to run the ball, and that run game was absolutely non-existent. And last year, you could run on this Niner defense.
Let me ask you what you guys think about to top this off. What you think about Bosa to seal the game the way that he did? Do you think that was him stepping up and saying like I am him and it's time for me, like I'm up next? Do you
That was
think that's
film study.
like
That's one of those things, Pat, where you know that Bosa normally isn't a power rusher. So the offensive tackle was probably preparing for speed, and which is why he probably gave Chris Kaserik the ball after the game. is
Mhm.
because I guarantee you they've been talking all week in those meetings that, hey, if you set him up with the speed, if you set him up with speed, you can knock this guy back into the quarterback with power and create a sack, strip, fumble. I guarantee you, you know how it goes in those meetings, Pat,
Mhm.
where you're just setting the guy up for that type of moment and opportunity in the game. Late in the
Yep.
game, we need it here. You've been setting the guy up with speed all game, and then you just go power one time and knock him back 5 yards. That's what happened. So that's one of the grit code defensive plays of the week that's going to be up for debate. Is Bosa's sack, strip, fumble up for defensive player of the week? I think it should be.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And don't forget, that was the most important play that Bosa made. But that
Yeah.
entire defensive series, he was a menace because a couple of plays before he caught a guy out who was out in the flat and tackled him for a loss. So that entire game was ramping up to be where, and you guys, you understand this, where your best players are supposed to shine. At that
Yeah.
moment, Nick Bosa had to play like a guy who was a defensive player of the year once before, and is an odds-on favorite to be defensive player of the year once again. And he set that bad boy up beautifully. He hit Lucas at right tackle directly in his chest with both hands, knocked him back into the quarterback. And Lucas is the big boy. All right.
Yeah.
You just don't punch a dude in the chest like that and he stumbles backwards. So there was definitely a mental aspect to it where you set him up with that move, but then you have to execute it. And that's the trifecta. I guess it's the quad. Punch the right tackle in his chest, he falls back, knocks the ball out, knocks the quarterback down, and you pick up the ball. That's pretty good.
And then another
Yeah.
thing from this week, the theme that I've seen is a lot of bad tackling on defense. I see Derrick
Mm.
Henry run through the Buffalo Bills defense. Pat, what do you do when you have Derrick Henry running through the second and third level of the defense full speed? How do you hit him?
I've
How do
been
we
waiting
take
on
him
this
down?
all week. What you do, Pat? He coming at you, Pat. What you gonna do?
Man, Dante, for you guys, I'm gonna say, just buckle up, and come hell bent for election. Um, because at that point, if he's back there at that point running that fast, yeah, you just better pray and buckle up. But what I would say is we shouldn't be letting him get back there to you guys like that, and we should be slowing him down. And what I saw in that game was some guys who were out of man, it's like I saw some guys that were out of their gaps, and when you playing against a guy like that, you have to be gap sound or else he's gonna do exactly what he did, and that was crush him in the running game. And if we had it in front of us, I would show you. But that was a couple of times. There was one play where I saw I think it was a safety. It was I don't know if it was on the 60-yard run or the 50-yard run he had, but I saw the what was it the backers what was the backer and the safety in this particular play it was the backer. He should have came over the top, and instead of him coming over the top of the
He went under the
play,
block
he went under it, came back, and I was like, man, you a veteran, like how did he bait you up like that, and
because they're
but that's
not
what
seeing the
happens.
game pre-snap, Pat. They're all assuming. And that's what I saw with the Buffalo Bills defense as well. A few times they closed the front row. So you know how it is. Game one,
Mhm.
Baltimore comes out with all these different personnels and you close the front row. So now you got the overhang player and the free player that you're supposed to hit the ball back to the backside of the defense, and you're missing two guys at the point of attack. That one that went for like 60, they closed the front row 100%. And then Bernard is trying to take on the blocks like Vic Fangio used to ask you and Navarro to do.
Yeah.
Take on the block, be strong at the point of attack, and be able to bounce back and make the tackle.
Yeah.
Well, I saw those boys get out physical and just mushed in the face. A lot of times those linebackers are just getting mushed over there. So there's a lot of bad tackling that's going on in the league too, Pat. What do you think for guys running up, trying to punch the football out without securing the tackle first? How wrong is this in the game of football?
Man, you know what? There's more than my dad used to. I can't say it. Peter's. My dad says more than one way to get something done, and for me though, I was the type of person that I felt like when I get there, I need to bring you down before I knock that ball out, before I try to think about getting the ball out. But I will say I did learn a little tactic as I got a little older of what could happen if you come with enough velocity, and you hit them.
You saying velocity or
Yeah,
velocity?
Both.
velocity, velocity,
No,
velocity.
philosophy is better. No,
Yeah.
it's an ethos, right?
Yes,
I'm
an
coming
that
with
was
ethos,
you
great.
yes.
with some intent. I
That
like
was great.
philosophy better.
But I say all that to say, Dante, we both know that we always say the first man in, you got to hit and wrap and tackle. And the way, I don't know if it's just the way the game is today to where you can't really put your helmet in there like that and hit. But I don't like what I see. I don't like what I
But Pat,
see.
it's something about me to where I just had to take my chance on Derrick Henry. I don't give a damn. If you come through there full speed, I got to fucking try it one time.
And see, I'm
There's
thinking
gonna be
Steve
like 2
Atwater
Mack trucks.
and Christian
I'm gonna
Okoye.
come full speed, and you're gonna have to run me the fuck over. This remind me of Steven Jackson. We played the St. Louis Rams.
Yeah.
Remember the swing pass in the flat? Everybody told
Wait.
him all week, "Oh, Steven Jackson, Steven Jackson." Man, they
No,
threw
he
that
was,
ball out there. I said, I'm about to fucking hit this guy.
that was the Falcons. He was with the Falcons.
Oh yeah, he was with the Falcons then.
Yeah, that
but
was
you
the
remember he
Falcons.
was with St. Louis. We played him for the year.
Yeah, you knocked
Every
your
time we
chin.
played him, I would just always just go full speed
I
and go
remember.
at his shin strap. So Monday night, we
Yeah.
played him. They ran that swing pass. I said, I'm about to get him.
Hey,
They threw
you
that
know what?
ball out there. Ha!
Yeah.
So crazy. We get
I don't-
up. You know what he said to me? Do it again. I said, motherfucker, I don't have to. I did it already.
Hey, Dante, what you think it is? Do you think something that comes from like
It's
guys
fear.
being afraid?
A lot of
like,
guys fearful out there. You
fear
gotta
of
have
what
courage.
though? Fear
What
of
makes
what?
you a great defensive player is the ability to go against the fear when you're on the field. Somebody's 120 pounds heavier than you, it don't matter. You bigger and stronger, it don't matter. This is what makes me a gladiator,
Yeah.
right? So that's how I always felt out there. So that's what it is. Guys out there running around scared. They want to be cute for Instagram.
Well, listen, I was going to ask you if the bad tackling, particularly against Derrick Henry, was that because guys don't play in the preseason anymore, or was it because guys are out there making business decisions? And I don't want you, I'm not even
Yeah.
going to ask you to give out names because that's not what we do here. But did you see guys making business decisions?
I don't know. I think a little bit of it could have been them coming out of preseason needing that first lick, because I will say that I remember I was at practice at the 49ers practice, and I saw Fred one day. This was last week, so it would have been like a Thursday practice for them. And I saw they just signed the free agent running back, and they ran a toss to him, and I saw Fred like a heat seeking missile. Pow! And I looked, and I was like, everybody was like, ooh, like this. And I was like, man, Buddy must have did something to him, because that ain't how Fred, Fred ain't that type of guy. And so after practice, I asked him, I said, Fred, I was like, hey, I said, did Buddy do something? He's like, man, Pete, that was just my first time getting a live hit. And so I didn't want my first live hit to be, in the game. And so I was like, oh. But it was kind of it shocked me, because I feel like shit, man. Like, what y'all been doing this whole training camp?
Nothing.
I'm like, shit. But then I guess I gotta get it. But I'm like, man, I feel like we had some live periods where like, man, I wouldn't have to do that. But yeah, I saw it. So I think some of it, Rod, could be, them coming out of training camp. But then
And I think a
Dante,
lot of it is they scared.
yeah,
They scared
maybe
out
a
there,
little bit.
Rod. Just like any level of football. You go into games, you can see it in guys' eyes, you can see it in their bodies, in the way that they approach the game. You can see it how they run off the sideline. If you play a big back in high school, in college, or the NFL, naturally the defensive backs are scared. A lot of times you'll see guys run into a block. Man, why the hell you even run into this block? You could have ran around this guy and made a tackle, but you wanted to look like on film that you trying to get to the ball and he made this block on you because you don't want to put yourself in harm's way to get run over. That's one of the scariest things in football for defensive players is to be run over by a running back or the opposition.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just always went against that fear. So, Pat, since we're talking about Derrick Henry, I'm gonna throw out a list of names, and you tell me how you feel like you would have matched up in the run game and the pass game with these guys.
Okay.
Bijan Robinson.
I'm confident because that's like a Reggie Bush, and if you were to go back and look at Reggie Bush and I, like our
Dominate,
one-on-one
you
battles,
dominate his ass. Say it.
I feel like
Me
I have
too.
the better hand.
I dominated him too.
Flex
Suplex
on
him
him,
on his
Pat.
neck.
Flex on him.
Yeah, suplex him on his neck. You remember Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
All right, so what about him coming out in the pass play? Bijan Robinson.
I would. It depends on down the distance, but I'm gonna ask my end or my
Third and
outside
three.
backer.
Third and three. Pat, you got Bijan Robinson. No help.
I'm gonna get a bang. I'm gonna ask him.
Christian
I'm gonna say,
McCaffrey.
yeah.
Christian McCaffrey in between the tackles. Patrick Willis, Christian McCaffrey.
Oh,
Ooh.
in between the tackles.
Come
Yeah.
on now.
Oh, yeah, that's me. Oh, that's me all day.
That's your
in
spot,
between the
man.
tackles. Well, you know what?
Patrick Willis.
No. I'm gonna take myself. I'm gonna take myself all day anyway.
I know, but we
inside the
gotta
tackle
be
and
honest
outside.
though,
All
because these
right.
guys are great.
All right, but I'm
CMC
still
in the
going.
pass game, Patrick Willis out wide at number 2. Patrick Willis versus CMC, Christian McCaffrey. Pass route.
I'm gonna play off. I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play.
Okay.
I'm gonna play off and use my speed, like to get down on him. So I'm gonna give it. I would give it to him. That would be pretty tough to, cover him a whole game. But
One more.
yeah,
Saquon Barkley in between the tackles.
Got to get him low, right? Got to hit him.
I'm gonna say. Yeah, I'm gonna say me that.
What would you be thinking about going into the game? Say Saquon Barkley in between the tackles.
Not
What
what
do
I
you
would
have
think.
to do to have
Not
success?
not thinking what I would think about Marshawn. Like I respect Saquon, but I don't feel like he's a power runner in that instance. So I would just say what I always say. Like, man, I look at Justin, look at Cowboy them, and I was like, hey, we need to make sure we hold a strong line, point of attack, and we coming. Like they pull. Well, we on everything. See, a lot of people don't give us credit to. A lot of people don't want to give credit to that Niners defense. That a lot of those run plays we stopped in a 7-man box. A lot of people have to use an 8-man. I mean, they have to bring down an extra
Safety.
man to bring down an extra safety to fill all the holes. But we was doing that with a 7-man
And that
box.
7-man box
because-
made you and Navarro have to get off blocks and
Yes.
make the tackle, not just have an
Yes.
extra guy in there. So people don't understand that. So can you
Yes.
talk about that? Having to get off guards and centers and still make a tackle on a guy and not have an extra guy in the box is almost impossible.
Yeah, that's something you don't see very often today, but that was also something that we worked on. We worked on our run fits every single day, but we also understood too that in the
Y'all had two
defense,
superheroes at linebacker that could do that.
No,
That's what we understood.
and we had
It
hell
wasn't
of
his
a-
scheme.
No,
It's like these
no,
boys could do this. They're strong.
But we can't. But it wasn't just the linebackers though, Dante. I wish I could just say with Navarro and not, but it was working. It was how we worked with the defensive line and how the defensive line worked with us. It was times in games where if we didn't get to a certain point, meaning like when the ball is snapped, we got to move now. A lot of people just hang. When you got an extra man in the box, 8-man box, you can just hang because you see a gap right there in front of you. But
It's
what you don't
easy.
realize is that there's a triangle in the offense on both sides or whatnot, and usually there's you got the defensive lineman and the linebacker, but then you have the offensive tackle and the running back, and it's almost like a triangle, and we are looking at each other, and what they see is when we don't move, they will stay on that down lineman and they won't come off, and before you know it, they didn't climb up 2 yards, 3 yards, and now you dealing with 2nd and 6 all the time because they're getting 4 yards a pop, 3 yards a pop. So what we learned was if you get to a point and that offensive lineman see you move, they are afraid that you're gonna like shoot the gap. They come off, our defensive lineman now replaces, and a lot of times it allows us to
Make
be able
that
to
TFL.
fall back. But a lot of times you just can't run back. You give a little knock on the offensive lineman or whatnot and keep them there, and that's how you're able to get back. Because if you just think you're gonna run back, that's when you get pushed past the gap, and then again you get split. So if I could show you, you would see what I'm talking about. A lot of
Yeah,
people
those
think
are
it's
intricacies of
easy.
playing good run defense, though.
Well, and that's why I asked you about what the Niners were able to do against Seattle, not comparing what we are seeing and what we may see from the Niners this year to what you guys did. I wouldn't even dream of doing that, but that's
Mm-hmm.
why I wanted to know, because the defensive line was the issue for the Niners last year in terms of them not being able to stop the run and being the type of defense that they want to be. So they put a lot of draft capital into that, went out to get Bryce Huff. I know he's more of a rusher, and they've got some young guys that they've invested some time into. So I'm wondering if you are starting to see the beginnings of that necessary marriage between the guys, with their hand in the dirt, and the two linebackers and Warner and Winters, who have all the talent and the speed in the world.
I don't know if it's that intricate. The way that we did it was so intricate to
Mhm.
where Vic Fangio knew exactly what type of runs we were going to get, how he was going to attack them, who was going to be the staple guy that took two every play, what safety was going to come down, who he expected to take two to free up Pat, to free up Navarro. So he was a mastermind like that. And he didn't even want us to take notes in meetings. It was incredible. He just said, if you listen to what I tell you and remember what I tell you, each one of you individually, I don't even need you guys to take notes. You remember that, Pat?
Yeah,
He would say that all the time. I
Well,
swear to God,
hey,
that's
you
how
know
we
what?
would win.
Hey, and to Dante, I do give Vic great credit, and I also give Jim Tomsula like even greater like credit, because when I tell you, like, there's things that I think about now when I think about us running the defense we ran a 3-4. You see some teams that run a 4-3, and what I didn't like about a 4-3 was that I always felt like you can get an edge, and I always felt like you can find the easy point in the defense,
Soft
and
spot.
yeah, the soft spot in the defense. And what I loved about us was that what I saw with the Ravens, and I saw how they motion. They would get in 12 personnel. They would start, the tight end and the U both on the same side, and all of a sudden they would motion them, and they would get it'd be 2 by 2. Both tight ends on the line, one off the line. But what we do is we would now give a call, like, we might at first say clip it because they look heavy over there, but as soon as we see a motion, we would just say hang it, hang it, hang it, and it would almost like it would turn into a 4-3 without it being a 4-3, but we still had a solid edge. But the way in which our guys loosened up and done certain things,
And
man, it
because there was
was
so much communication, Rod,
yes,
to
yes.
where Pat and those guys knew based on motion, alignment, personnel, what runs we were going to get. So it would be so much talking out there pre-snap that the normal fan would never even understand. One hang it call could move 3 or 4 guys. And since
Yeah.
we're so deep into defense, I thought there were some individual performances this week in the NFL that were just amazing. I thought Jalen Ramsey, his recognition on that 4th down play to come up and
Hmm.
stop Garrett Wilson to secure the win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I thought Jahad Campbell, the forced fumble, his pass coverage for the Philadelphia Eagles. I thought Ed Oliver's penetration and
Mhm.
forced fumble on Derrick Henry was one of the plays. J.C. Horn, did you guys see the one-hand interception
Yeah,
that
man.
he had? Oh, man, that was a phenomenal one. And then the Nick Bosa, the pushing the tackle back, gotta have it play in the red zone. Those are 6 defensive players. I'm pretty sure we all seen those plays. What play do you think deserves Grit Code Defensive Player of the Week? Defensive Player of the Week.
Mm.
I mean, I'm
That's
gonna go with Bosa. It just because, again, it's not because of the ultimate play. I'm going with the penultimate play that set up the push in the chest of Lucas to knock him back into Darnold, knock the ball out, and get the sack and get the recovery. As I mentioned, if Bosa doesn't make that tackle for loss earlier in that defensive series, we're probably talking about a different outcome in that Niners Seahawks game. So, and the Niners defense, they had to do a lot of heavy work because of the missed field goals, because of the 2 interceptions. They were under the gun in the second half. So for Bosa to put up that performance when they needed him to, with stopping the guy in the backfield and getting the strip sack and all of that stuff, I got to go with Bosa.
Who you going with, Pat?
man.